fine. Not great. It actually is one of the things that I dislike the most. So about the new rules. So that's somewhat telling as to how bad the rules are, or rather, how they're not really that bad. The new changes. Okay. So they're gonna have to errata a million cards to this to take a to take a prize of to to have the new terminology take effect. So you'll see a lot of rewordings of cards because of this. Okay, to cast, play, and activate. So they're changing things to cast again for spells, which is anything like artifact, enchantment, creature, instant sorcery. Those are all spells. So now you cast those again. I think like it used to be a long time ago. They used to have cast on the cards instead of play them, because there's a confusion with like playing land, playing an ability. So now it just says cast again. I think this is perfectly fine and good. And it works flavorfully with magic. You know, you're using magic, you're casting spells, right? So that's fine. I don't think I need to talk about that too much. It'll help organize the terminology a little better too. Alright, so here they give a good example, like Elvish Piper, who has the ability 1 green and tap to put a creature from your hand into play. So if you were doing this with Phage the Untouchable, who says when Phage the Untouchable comes into play, if you didn't play it from your hand, you lose the game. So that was kind of, alright, play, right? Now it would say, when Phage the Untouchable enters the battlefield, if you didn't cast it from your hand, you lose the game. So it's a little more clear to newer players what all the terminology means, a little less legalese, and that's fine. They changed remove from game to exile, or rather altered remove from game and added the term exile. So remove from the game, let's see what they say. Okay, the reality. Remove from the game is increasingly a misnomer as we design more cards that use the remove from the game zone as a temporary holding cell for cards that are very much still in the game. Like the in-play zone, the name remove from the game zone does a poor job of maintaining the game's fantasy metaphor. So the fix is the phrase removed from the game is being changed to exile, which is shorter, more flavorful, and not at all misleading about actually being in the game. The new zone is actually called the exile zone, and cards in it will be referred to as exiled cards. So that makes more sense, right? So if you exile something, it can come back. Like, you know, you exile a Guatemalan president, you know, he can eventually come back and retake his seat. Whereas if you remove something from the game, you have the sense that it's just gone completely forever, right? And then there's some other, you know, changes to remove from game, so it's not just a terminology change. Okay, so this is a new zone, really, right? So it's like a second graveyard, which I imagine is going to create, you know, a whole iteration of different effects. You know, return this card from the exiled zone to play. You know, like a exiled zombify, right? Whereas before, remove from game included your sideboard, and before that, remove from game included all the cards you own, which is ridiculous, right? You wouldn't want to have to sit with your whole collection around you in order to go search for something during a game. So, yeah. So, which had been ruled. Okay, the 6 wish card, Ring of Maroof, and the research half of research and development used to allow you to get cards from outside the game, which had been ruled to include your entire card collection in casual games and your sideboard in tournaments, which I always took to mean just your sideboard always, but and in certain casual formats that's fine, you know, multiplayer, whatnot, you can expand that. And the remove from the game zone. So this isn't the case anymore. Exiled cards are not outside the game. So one thing you used to be able to do is you could wish for a wish. So you'd have a wish in your sideboard, like Cunning Wish. You'd get infinite mana somehow. You would wish for the wish in your sideboard, and then the wish that you used to wish for the wish would get removed from the game. So then you could use the wish you went and got to wish for your old wish and just cycle them infinitely, right? And then you could cast a storm spell and you'd win the game, right? With most of the storm spells anyway. A grape shot or I don't know what else. The rare one. Grape shot would be probably the best in that case. So you can't do that anymore because exiled is not the same as your sideboard. Sideboard is removed from the game. And wishes can no longer get... Wishes can get something... I'm not sure how the wishes are going to work now, actually. Because if you have a wish... Okay. The cards no longer be able to access cards in that zone. Okay. The primary functionality to get cards from your collection or sideboard remains unchanged. So basically, you'll be able to wish for a card from your sideboard, but since cards will no longer get removed from the game, the wish will go to the exiled zone. The wish will exile itself, and then a second wish can't get cards from the exiled zone, so it would have to keep digging from your sideboard, and so you can't do the infinite thing anymore, right? Okay, so that's interesting. It'll open some design space. Second graveyard could be interesting. It's not a excessive complication to me because it's just going to work very similarly to the graveyard. It's just like a second graveyard. Anyway, I'll keep going over this in a minute. Thanks for watching, and hope you don't hate the new rules too much, or if you do, you have good reason, but you still keep playing the game because it's a great game. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.